Hi, so this is part two of our character walk cycle. And in this video, we are going to create the outlines of the first step, the first four frames, which include contact, down, passing, and up. So before you get to this step, you need to have the first four frames drawn in first, and they should be correct. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to play over my frames, and I have the settings set so I have make it 1 or 2 frames a second. I have it on 1 so I can really see it in nice slow motion. Everything needs to be correct in animation before you move to the next step. It's a really common misconception in beginners that, oh, if that arm isn't really working or that leg or that pose is awkward, I'll just fix it in the next step. It never works. I can promise you it's like the fundamental thing to just stay away from an animation. So I'm really looking at these and trying to be honest with myself. Are there anything that really stands out as being awkward or not being consistent? And what I'm noticing is in my last frame, the up, this one right here, I'm missing a few components. So I'm going to go to that layer. If you pause it down here, it will automatically put you on that layer. And I noticed that the horn wasn't quite connected and that I was actually missing the paw pads. And I'm looking for any areas to just seem a little bit awkward. So right here, I actually made that arm a little bit lower in the back. So in animation studios, there are keyframe animators and then there are tweeners. So tweeners do all the detail work at the end, and that's the much easier job. The keyframe artists, like at Disney, they might have just a couple really select keyframe artists who really design the scene, and they might draw one frame 60 times. I've heard that is very much a standard there in order to get the drawing right. So that's why I'm being very careful about making sure I really like everything in this, because the tweens really don't matter as much. This is really the gold standard for what we need to focus on in the animation. All right, so I have my 4 drawings, which you guys just saw. One thing that's really important just not to do is don't play with the opacity down here in the separate layers. It gets a little confusing when you use the onion skinning with it, and we're about to add a number of other layers. And I did this before the demo. But for your first step, we should have the contact, which is our reference. And this is going to be turned off at this point. We no longer need it. We have the draw, which is your blue drawings. And now I have added an outline layer. So you will see outline contact 1, outline down 1, outline passing 1, and outline up 1. So I'm going to make sure I'm being very careful to just work on those layers. Now, the only downside to Procreate is you can't lock layers you don't want to touch right now because they won't show up in your animation panel. So they won't work with it. Just leave these ones open. So I am not going to lock any layers, but I'm going to very carefully select and make sure I'm on the outline layers. All right, so right here, I'm going to go to an inking brush, and 2 that I recommend for this are either the Technical Pen or the Syrup. I really like the Syrup for this because it's a little bit easier to do smooth outlines on it. Since I have a very smooth character, I'm going to stick with this. So I have to make sure I'm on that layer and that layer is now turned on. All right. And it gets a little confusing because you can see all of my different drawings, and I don't really want to see that. I only want to see really 1 frame at a time. So I'm going to turn off any other frames for right now. It's just on outline of contact is on, and I have my onion skinning set to 1. Okay, so now I'm ready to work on it. So I am going to take my pen and I am going to very carefully trace over my outlines, staying very close to what I had before. The speed here is up to you, but if you feel like a line doesn't really quite fit, I usually will just kind of undo it. I felt like I didn't quite have the arm in the right position. So I still want to make sure these drawings have a nice sense of energy to them. I'm going to speed up a little bit just for the demo, but I would recommend maybe going just a little bit slower than I'm starting to right here. But some people draw better fast. The speed, you really just have to kind of watch yourself and what works best for you. All right, so I have my outline of my contacts. Now I'm going to go put my down layer on. I'm going to turn those off. I select my down layer on, outline on. I'm on the outline layer again, because this is the outline step. And notice how, just like in the character unit, I'm doing a lot of start and stop. So I start and stop where two lines meet. Start, stop, just so I get very clean edging. And if you have an opening between the line work, that's fine. But if you can keep it closed, it'll make it easier when we do color work because we can just drag the colors right in. Whoop, I'm missing a pod pad here too, so I'm just going to add that in. All right, again, turn those off. Turn on passing. I'm on the outline layer for passing, so I'm going to outline that now. Turn those both off. Turn on drawing up one, and I'm going to be on the outline up one layer. So I'll turn on both of those. And this is my last frame. And I would go slower if I was working in real time. Just want you guys to see in the end where we need to be before the next demo. All right. And then if you want to preview your animation, again, whatever frames are on, that's what's going to preview. So I'm only turning on my outline layers for each of those 4 frames. I'm leaving the original drawings and the reference off. And now I can see my character animated with outlines. And I think that's pretty much working. There might be 1 or 2 little things I do. I feel like one of the legs right there might be a little bit fat. So you would just keep going until you get everything just the way that you like it. All right, guys, take care.